Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Suliruka here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. Now, before I introduce our next special guest on the Impact Podcast Show, I just want to state two things quickly. So the first thing I want to do is I would like to say thank you. I want to say thank you to those who are listening to this episode either through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But I also want to say thank you to those out there who are watching this podcast through our YouTube channel. And if you are watching this video on our YouTube channel or on YouTube right now, please make sure you guys like this video if you have received some value. And if you guys got any questions or any thoughts or any ideas that you would love to share, please put it in the comments down below. And most importantly, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on that bell button for the latest updates on our next video. So that's the first thing that I wanted to state. And the second thing I do want to state is I would love to state our mission, and our mission is simple. Our mission is to focus on impacting the one. So if you've been impacted by this podcast, I encourage you to share this to someone else that can benefit from this. Because just remember, it only takes one person to change someone's life, and that could possibly be you, and that would be cool. So guys, now that all that shenanigans done, we can get straight into the nitty-gritty side of the podcast show. And guys, I want to introduce our next special guest on the Impact Podcast Show, and I want to share a bit about the why behind the what. You know, the reason why I wanted to get it on here. Now, she's probably going to kill me for this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. But the thing I love about this woman on the other side is that I remember like at church, because we do actually go to the same church, and you know, the cool thing about her is that this woman right here, she is very humble, and she'll probably kill me for it. She'll be like, shut up. She'll be like, stop it. But honestly, like she's the type where like when she gets praises, like she'll just say, yeah, like, you know, praise God. Like she'll be like, yeah, that's all cool. Like but the thing is, like, I can't thank her enough for a lot of things that she has taught me. She's given me some little nuggets that I've actually used to actually start my podcast, and she actually doesn't know that. And I wasn't going to tell her before. I'm going to tell her right now while it's recording. But I'm going to be real with you, man. Like, I've never seen a person who's worked like as hard in the content creation scene and whilst doing that and also being humble at the same time as this person on the other side. She's probably being like, can you stop it now? But guys, she currently serves at a home church, which is our home church, as a content creator. But most importantly, my goal for tonight is that I want people to know who she is before what she does, because at the end of the day, we all have a story behind what we do, and that is what I want to open up out of her for tonight. And so I know that she has a really blissful and like massive story that I believe that will help you guys out in terms of impacting the one. And so guys, I would like to welcome to the Impact Podcast Show, Kelli McClintock. Hello, sister.
Yeah, what's up, bro? So good. I feel like I could start my own business, take over the world with that intro. Come on.
Oh,
get
man,
a soundtrack behind that happening too. Like, that's massive hype up.
Yeah, you know what I need to do next time? I need to get those sound effects. I mean, that sound effects, you know, where you press the button and sort of things like that. Yeah, I should get that next time.
My theme song, I've got a request, is People Every Day. When next time you intro me, just get that. Let me use it. Whoa. So yeah.
Honestly,
People Every Day, bro. That's my theme.
I'm gonna search that, and like we're gonna put that on. Hey, special request from the. Hey, this is what happens when you're a special guest on the Impact Podcast Show, right?
Let me hear you say, whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. Oh yeah. But sis, I just want to say honestly, thank you for taking up the time to jump on. I already know that you're a busy woman. Like you're doing a lot of things in your life, and so I want to say firstly, thank you so much for joining and taking out your time.
Oh no, so keen. Love what you do, dude. And it's it's funny. Like, you don't think that you have much to offer, but I guess you saw something in me, so let's try and dig it out.
Yep, that's us. Awesome. That is us. So we're going to get straight into it. And I guess the first question I want to ask you, sis, is, you know, there are people out there listening to this, especially in the Impact family or the Impact community that are listening to this, and they may not know you, but I know that there are people out there who are going to be listening to this, like your friends or your family or the people that love you they're going to be listening to this. And so I guess my question to you is like, is there any chance that you could possibly share a bit about who you are?
Yeah, of course. So I guess day one, born in New Zealand in Hamilton, and then probably when I was 2 or 3 or something, my parents moved back over to country New South Wales in a little town called Cootamundra. That's where it's at. Cootamundra. Most people don't know it, but if you do, it may be because you've caught the train to Melbourne and it's halfway between Sydney and Melbourne, or you're a cricket fanatic and you know Donald Bradman, who was born there, and the town milks it for all it's worth. Don Bradman, Cootamundra. He's a famous cricketer, if you didn't know who he was. Yeah. And so grew up in Cootamundra, did my whole schooling life there, had a lot of fun in, it's funny to say the bush, but it wasn't really the bush, felt like the bush. In the outback, it's not really the outback.
Yeah.
Growing up in a small country town, so you just find things to do outside. Super, super, super keen on always being outside and running around in the streets and whatever else, because there's not much else to do in Cootamundra. High school was in a drama performing arts. It's called KDS Kids. That's Cootamundra Amateur Dramatic Arts Society. It's like the town's kind of little community outreach thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So did that for my whole high school life, and then after high school I went back to New Zealand for the year, and also I did university degree in Charles Sturt University in Wagga, and I did animation and visual effects for 3 years. And then a lot of like just events happened in terms of opportunity, and then I found myself working at a church called King's Christian Church, which is now Inspired Church Wagga, which is how I ended up to live in Sydney, where I am now, working for the church as well, and doing all things creative there and whatever else. And I love to go out into the outdoors, and I love watching movies, and I love Tori Kelly, and I love dabbling in things that I'm not that good at, but I can have fun with, e.g. like playing instruments and guitar or whatever, and the odd tune here and there. Yeah, and that's pretty much in a nutshell the life of Kelly. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. That is actually, honestly, like when I was just listening to what you were saying, I was like, yeah, that is pretty much the life of Kelly. Like, like it's like people might be like, oh, that's a bit boring, or that's a bit just basic. I'm like, no, that is literally. Yeah. But yeah, either way, like for those that are out there that are listening, it's like we actually are going to get like a little bit more deeper into the nitty gritty side of Kelly, and like you guys are able to learn a lot more about, you know, who she is, because the thing that we do on the Impact Podcast show is we love to like focus on you know, allowing the special guests to show a bit about who they are, because I think in this, obviously in society or in this world that we live in, it's always like digital based, so only people see what they see. So they're probably just looking at you, especially like your followers now, they're probably just like looking at you saying, okay, this is Kelly, like she does, you know, content creating, and that's all I know about her. But because I already know that for you, you don't have, you know, the time to actually, but you know what, I'm going to share my story. So this is the platform that we love to use. We like to like utilize that as an opportunity for people to be like, I want to know about Kelly, and you could be like, yeah, just jump on the Impact Podcast show, because that's pretty much my whole story there. Yeah. So like, you know, like, so this is an opportunity where people get to know a bit more about you, and I want to say thank you for sharing, you know, thank you for sharing a bit about who you are. And I guess another question I wanted to ask you, just based on, you know, the way you introduce yourself and like, you know, things you've gone through, like how much of a difference would it have made if you lived in the city? Because I know that you've been in the outback and you lived in Hamilton growing up, and then you went into the outback. Like, would you say that life would have been different if you were living in the city?
So my experience of the city, like you have to, it's funny now because everything's at your fingertips and you can go wherever you want.
Yes.
Well, especially when you have a license, you can I guess with Corona, you can't go wherever you want, but before that, like, you can travel where you want, you can easily go between cities and explore and get an Airbnb and go with your mates, go here and there and see what you want. And it's really accessible. But I know, like, living in a small country town, there's like 6,000, 6 or 7,000 people there, and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, I realized that.
Yes, it's like, it's funny to say, but like, Sydney was the biggest deal. To go to Sydney from Cootamundra, I guess you got to factor in the types of cars that we used to have like 20 years ago, and also the roads that we had 20 years ago aren't the roads that we have like right now, kind of thing. And then so when my parents would take us and then we'd need to go to Sydney, it was like the most, like, it was epic and it was exhausting too.
It was like gold.
Sydney, it was like, Sydney was this monster, and it was an adventure, and it was a whole new world, really.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's so silly to say now because it's so accessible and so like bogan, but Macca's was the biggest treat in the world, kind of thing. To go to Macca's was to go to like Gordon Ramsay's like 5-star restaurant kind of thing. It was like, no way, we get to go to Macca's, like, because we don't have fast food restaurants where I came from. So anytime we went somewhere else, it was like, we get to have Macca's. Like, it was so special. And then now it's just like, just easy and accessible and everywhere. And they've dominated the fast food chain kind of thing. So it's so funny to think, oh my gosh, like, I do remember when Macca's was a big deal, which goes to show like how small my living was, I guess, like life in the country town.
Yeah.
So it was always a massive adventure, and we'd be so exhausted, and it would take forever to get to the city. It was not 4 hours. It felt like an eternity. Yeah. And then to get back as well. And then always growing up, it's so funny, never say that you're never going to do something, because for me, it's always been the thing that I end up doing.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. Or I always said, ooh, yuck. Like, why would I ever want to, like, live in Sydney? Who would want to live in the city? There's too many people. It's too busy. Everybody's on a whole different kind of, like, they're just, I don't know, too much going on.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. I like simple living. I like country town. As much as there's not that much to do, like, I like not living in the hustle and the bustle, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, so even going through uni, I was like, oh, like, I do not want to live in Sydney. But then funny how you just take little steps, or you meet people, or you just change, your perspective changes. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm full-time living in Sydney, and I never, you told me that I was going to live in Sydney when I was younger, and I would have laughed in your face, kind of thing. Because it's where I ended up. I was like, oh, are you serious? So I've learned not to say I'm never going to do anything, because then I'm kind of like speaking life to it. It usually ends up being the thing that I do. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, but for me it was gradual steps moving to the city. So for me it was Cootamundra to Wagga, and it was a step up kind of thing. And then a few years in Wagga doing uni, and then the opportunity to work work in Liverpool, work in Sydney came, and I still had attachments and responsibilities that I had to do in Wagga. So do you even remember, like, I used to drive from Wagga to Sydney for like 3.5 years, like twice a week. So it was, and I forget that I used to do that. And then I think I'm flipping crazy. Like, who does that? But at the time, it was what I had to do and what I wanted to do as well. It wasn't forced on me, and I could have stopped it whenever. But it was I'd work in Wagga Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do church in Wagga on Sunday. After the morning service, drive to Sydney, go to the PM service in Sydney, and then work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday night, drive back to Wagga, work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, church in the morning on Sunday, drive to Wagga, church at night on Sunday night. And I did that for 3 years straight.
When was that, though?
So that was 2014, 15, 16, and then halfway through the year, 17, towards the end, 2018, that's when I fully moved up here. I've been up here for 3 years. Yeah, so about 2017, I moved up here halfway through the year.
That is crazy. Honestly, I don't know if anyone's listening to that. Can you kind of explain? Because with our Impact family, there are people overseas. So could you kind of describe what you're trying to say? Because I already know exactly what you're saying. But could you kind of describe to the people out there listening on exactly how big?
I do. So Wagga is 4.5 hours away from Sydney, driving at 120.
60.
No, I never went above 120, but I went a little bit faster than 110, which was the speed limit. Reasonable, whatever. And so that's twice a week. But then 1 year had passed, and I just wanted to do the math because I was like, this is a little bit crazy. I wonder how far I've actually driven. Anyway, so I looked up the calculations of, okay, if I go twice a week, that's some number, and then how many that's over the course of the year kind of thing, did the math, and it was 43 or 45,000 kilometers or something. Dang. 45. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well, so what is that? Is that driving from one side of China to the other? Where is the biggest land, the land mass? I think, or maybe even from one side of the thing of Australia to the other. And then I looked up, from Perth to the top of Cape, whatever it is, I don't know, Cairns or something.
Yeah.
And it was only it wasn't even that far. I can't remember what the math was. And I was like, okay, so then, well, what is it from one side of Europe to the other side of Russia, China, kind of that big landmass.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't even that far. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so what about even across from one side of America to the other? And I think only that was 10,000 kilometers if you drove that. I was like, okay, Google, what is the circumference of the Earth?
Yeah.
And it said 40,000 kilometers or something like that. I think we should probably check it out. Hey, Google. Nah, hey, Siri. She's not listening to me. It was
crazy.
43,000. Hold on.
So you're saying to me that the amount of times you've come, back and forth is in calculation going around the world. Is that what you're saying? Or?
So the circumference of I did 43,000 kilometers.
Yep.
And the circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometers. Yeah. So I did more than the circumference of the Earth in driving in 1 year. And I did that for 3 years. So.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty hardcore.
Oh, my God.
By myself as well.
That is crazy.
I mean, I had company sometimes. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to give praise to you, sis, on that. Because, honestly, for me, I go to training, right? I go to training and it's only I'm going to be the biggest sook here. It's only 30, 40 minutes, right? And I'm chucking the biggest sook. Yeah. I'm oh my gosh, I have to drive to training. It's 40 minutes. And you got someone like you driving 4 hours up and down. Yeah. I'm okay, guys, this is what you call a humility check right now I'm going through. All right.
No, fully. I live 10 minutes away. And sometimes I'm I can't be bothered to drive. And then I was just reflect on your life, Kelly. What? Yeah, this is nothing. Anyway, my life was so full of just commitment with just extracurricular things that I was doing, or hanging out with people, and work in general, and learning my new role and growing in that, and serving in different, like I was in the creative media team and also serving in creative like music as well, like the worship team. So that was kind of consumed a lot of my life, and just life is full anyway. There's a lot of things to do. So people always trying to talk to me, always needing something from me, I guess, or like I always had the next thing that I was having to do. So as much as people say, oh my gosh, how boring would that like 4.5 hour drive be, like what do you do? I was like, that was my moment. And sometimes I'd even leave at like 10 p.m. at night, 11 p.m. at night, and get to Wagga like in the early hours of the morning. But I didn't care. I loved it because it was like the moment where nobody could like talk to me. I disconnected from my phone and just I listened to whatever. Sometimes like I would fully I'd fully do like I would I could sometimes do the whole trip completely silent and just be lost in my thoughts, and then all of a sudden I was there and I was like, oh dang, I didn't even listen to like one song or listen to one podcast or anything. I just was just like so much going through my mind, or just reflecting or meditating, or just whatever. And there's so many it's funny how it happens, but there were some really core teachings that I happened to listen to as well. And you know, when you just never forget, I've listened to so many messages or so many like self-help things or whatever, and they're all good in the moment, but like you only like fully remember like those juicy ones. Like there's only
understand
a handful
you.
of those. And then I have a lot of those from my drive, like a lot of just nuggets that I listen to, kind of thing. And also, so I grew in just being able to listen to a message or a preaching or whatever. And I also learnt how to, I already kind of knew how to sing, but I bettered my singing as well in there. Like I never knew how to do harmonies or anything like that. And I said, Mum, how do you do harmonies? Because my mum sings as well.
Your mum is like, the best. And your dad too.
Yeah, they're legends.
They're the best. Oh, man.
I was like, Mum, how do I do harmonies? How do you do it? And she's like, I don't. You just have to kind of hear it.
Yeah.
You hear it, and then you get it. I'm like, that's not helpful. How do I do it? Like, teach me, kind of thing. And then she's like, well, just listen. Just listen. Listen to the songs that you know, but listen deeper than just the melody, and you'll hear people in the background and just sing along with them, and then you'll learn, and then you'll hear. And then so over these years, and now I can just and it's funny because you're just going along with life, but afterwards I was like, if I didn't have those moments of just singing and listening and just having that moment to practice, even though I didn't realize I was practicing, it's just like, I don't know how I would have been able to do or hear how I hear now if it wasn't have been for those drives, kind of thing. Yeah, it was. So it changed that too. So I grew like spiritually and I guess physically. I guess you have determination too, because sometimes you get really tired. So it's just like
honestly, that was going to be my next question though. Like my next question was going to be like there must have been days. There must have been days where you were like dead set tired.
Yeah,
like
there were some days that I was dead.
Yeah. So my question to you was, how were you able to manage your, like, what was your secret? Because I know everyone has their little secret way of like staying awake, like in the car. Like I've got one, but I want you to share your one.
I think it would be, I did have to pull over. I think I remember maybe three times that it was like, girl, you need to pull over. You just need to just take a moment. Yeah, I remember 100% three times. And then I think the other times where I was just committed to, I was so focused of staying awake that it helped me stay awake. I was like, I'm not going to fall asleep. Like, I need to get home. I need to get to Sydney. Like, come on, just pull yourself together. And then that kind of mental drive just kept me awake kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or I'd put the windows down and it would be in the middle of winter and it'd keep me cold. Yeah. Don't get too warm and comfortable. So I'd be like, sometimes if I was just determined, I was like, I just want to get there kind of thing. You don't have too long to go. Just keep going. I just put the windows down and that would kind of like blast of fresh cold air kind of thing. Just, yeah, that's my secrets. They're not, yeah.
She said my one. She said my one.
What is it?
The window.
The windows?
Yeah. So for me, like putting the windows down is like by far like the secret sauce to the way of me staying awake in the car. If I'm like really dead set tired and I need like that extra boost, I'm putting not just one window, I'm putting all the windows down and just yelling and just saying, you're going home.
Yeah, no, 100%. I do that too. Or I'd sing louder. You put the music up, or pick a track that was like banger and put the windows down and like, I feel fresh now.
Yeah. Oh man.
But I don't miss the drive, and I'm very grateful to be in one spot. Yeah. But I really do value those moments, and I'm grateful that I got to have them, and that I did, whether I knew it or not, was an opportunity to grow and not just waste the time. Because I mean, you can just drive and not use that opportunity, and that's 4 hours kind of wasted. Or you can use that opportunity to refresh yourself, which I did, or take a moment to just breathe and relax and, I don't know, listen to somebody else inspire you. Yeah. Pretty good.
No, honestly, like, I'm so grateful that you're sharing this because I need it. I needed to hear that, especially knowing that, like, you know, for me, when I'm driving like an hour or, you know, it's only been an hour and I'm driving, I'm like, man, it took so long. And you got people like yourself doing like 4 or 5 hour drives like on the constant basis, like for like over 3 years. And then, you know what, like, I think I'm going to give you massive praises for that, because you, like you mentioned at the start, that it wasn't something that you were forced to do. Like, it wasn't an obligation. It's something that you had chosen.
Yeah.
You ended up making the choice. Yeah, it was a choice that you had made. I paid for my
own petrol too.
Yeah, legit. See,
you get reimbursed from it.
And obviously, like, for me, like, that's the thing I love about people like yourself who's always constantly focusing on, okay, like, I can tell straight away it was all based on passion. And it was like, you know, you had that passion and belief that, like, it's more than just a, you know, a thing that I love. It's like, there's actually like a bigger purpose behind it. And we're going to get into that. We're actually going to get into more about the purpose behind, you know, why you do what you do. But I guess before we figure out why you do what you do, we need to first figure out who you really are. You know, just to, like get people to really understand who you really are. And like, this is the platform that we get to do it. And especially knowing that, like, we're already halfway into the podcast. I want to get deep. I want to get deep into you, sis. Like, and the whole purpose is just to get your story out there. Because I know already right now that there is someone listening to this being like, I'm already impacted and I want more. So we're going to we're actually going to get straight into it. You know, we may bring a bit of that, you know, the traveling that may come in later on. If you guys are listening, being like, oh, I want to know more about that. You never know. She may just share that. But we're going to get straight into it. We're going to get a bit deeper. You know, one thing I believe in is before the glory, there is always a story. And I believe that Kelli does have a story that she's going to be able to share and it's going to impact. And honestly, she's not going to see it. Like, we were talking about this beforehand. She was like questioning, being like, I don't know if I have one, but that's my this is the reason why I do what I do, is because I get to help her discover that, because you never know. She might be like, oh my gosh, I actually did not know that. So we're going to go on a journey. You know, that's the thing I love doing, is going on a journey with people. And so we're going to go on a journey into knowing a bit more about Kelli. And so my first question to you, sis, in terms of, you know, really getting to understand your story, is could you kind of share a bit about your upbringing, like about how it was for you growing up, like in terms of like your family?
Yeah. Well, I am extremely blessed to be a part of a family that my parents are both Christian, raised me in with Christian values. My grandparents on both sides are still alive and thriving and serving the Lord as well. And my aunties and uncles all I'm just surrounded by Christians.
Yep.
Yeah, my parents raised us. I have two sisters. I'm one of three. I'm in the middle, and that might explain a lot, or it might not explain anything. Depends on what you believe about the middle child. But raised my parents putting in the values that we had. But as I said, like growing up in a Christian house, but growing up in a town that's so small, if I can put it this way, I was the only Christian in my whole year. And I probably would, like, when you look back on it, I wasn't even a Christian. Like, I wasn't actively living out that kind of lifestyle. 100%. No way.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And so growing up with them, everybody would know my parents. We owned a coffee shop. My parents owned a coffee shop, an art gallery, and it was extremely prominent in the community. So we were involved in all the community kind of events and stuff like that. So everybody knew my parents, everybody knew my family. We're, well known in the community and respected as well, which is really nice, I guess. And have a really good reputation for just our faith and being normal, nice people and involved in the community as well. And having a nice coffee shop that people would come to, and they would be like, there's something different about this place. It's just like home. And the thing about a country town too is that businesses don't last that long. And and that's a miracle in itself that we got to have the shop for like 14 years. Because small businesses in small towns, they don't usually last that long. So that was really kind of favor. Anyway, all that to say, my whole year, all my friends, they knew that I was a Christian. They knew that I came from a Christian family. And so that kind of was on me as well.
Yeah.
And then so through high school, I remember that there was this one, if anybody was religious, there was one girl, and she was Jehovah's Witness, and she just got like slammed. So I was like, I do not want to be in that. Like, that is just, I don't want that attention. Like, people are savage. Just teasing you. And it's so funny because like the values of Christian people are good. So like, why do people tease you for being good? Being respectable and having value on yourself and not kind of succumbing to peer pressure and stuff like that. Why do we care that people will tease us for having those strong values? It's just actually so bizarre. Anyway, so I didn't have a youth group. Our church, my parents didn't force us to go to church. They never did. They always invited us to come, but they just knew that it wasn't that fun. Like, it was boring. It was like a old Baptist church, and nobody, just a bunch of old people kind of went. And so they just knew that we weren't interested, and they didn't want us to have a tainted perspective of what church is, and they didn't want to force us to do it, but they would still invite us. Hey, like, I'd love it if you came to church. No? Okay, well, if you want to come, we're going, kind of thing. But then they just, I guess, were doing the whole yeah, as I look back on it, it's like church at home. So it's not just you have to go to the building to see that we're a Christian. It's like, okay, well, as a parent and as a dad and as a mother, I'm going to outlive the way that I want my children to live and encourage them in that, and just keep praying, and God kind of like makes a way. I think like now that I'm older, and you kind of talk to your parents a bit about what life was like growing up, and then because I was like, oh my gosh, I was a rat, and then to be like, oh man, I had some Facebook memories come up today, and the language that was in there, I was like, who is this girl? Are you serious?
No, honestly, like just even you sharing that like made me think that like some people just don't, like when people see you now, right, and like they only just see the now Kelly.
Yeah,
it's like
that's the thing.
They look at you and be like, oh snap, like people don't realize how grateful they are to see the new you, because the old you is like completely different, eh?
Yeah, I was literally thinking that, and I'm just like, oh, thank you, Lord, that the people that I know now didn't have to deal, or they didn't know me here, like when I was before, and they know me for who I am now. I mean, like I still am the same me. It's just some of my decisions are a bit, I don't know, better, way better. But I'm still it's funny, I'm still the same person, and I wouldn't say that I've changed. It's just like your choices change, I guess. Like the core of my fun, crazy, bubbly personality is still there that I've always had. It's just try to make it nicer and a little bit more with purpose. And respectable, I guess. Whatever. But yeah, growing up, and I really tried subconsciously and consciously, I guess. There were some moments where I was just like, I'll show you that I'm not that Christian girl that you keep saying that I am, kind of thing. So it was a lot of battles between identity with just just identifying as a Christian. And it's crazy because I didn't want to be mocked, or I didn't want the attention to be on me negatively. But it's so crazy, like as much as like you make silly decisions, God's hand is still on your life, and he still saved me from, like, I did make bad decisions, but he saved me from making really, really bad decisions that like you regret later. And even if I'd be at a party or drinking underage, and I found myself like, you know, just with your thoughts, or you just go to the bathroom even, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, help me out of this situation, kind of thing. Like, what am I doing with my life? And I'm only like, I'm 16, I'm drinking, and I shouldn't be. There's nothing else to do, and I'm getting influenced bad. But I still had the knowing that God was with me all the time, and he was going to help me in these situations. And it's like, oh, I've got myself in this, I need help to get out. God, help me get out. And he was always like, I always had him with me, kind of thing. And he was always helping me, even though I tried to like deny who he was, kind of thing. He was just relentless with just being there, regardless of whether I kind of like said yes or no to some things. And then, like you just can't shake the truth, really. I just couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get away from knowing that God was actually like a real thing, and he actually like kind of cared for me. As much as I had a gutter mouth, and as much as I overdrank a lot, and just probably could have treated people a lot better, like he was always, there's always like a element of grace and kind of grace. Even though I was still, it's like the prodigal son, but I was still there, and I was staying there, but he was still welcoming me home and helping me in that kind of thing, and just like protecting me. Yeah. And then I guess there was one event where it's funny how a bad situation can get turned for good. And as much as this situation freaking sucked, and I wish, because it was embarrassing and shameful and I regret it, it's like, you kind of like grateful for that, because at least it stopped there. It didn't go any further. Or I've stopped. My eyes were opened. Oh my gosh, I made a big boo-boo. But I've learned from it, and I'm glad that it happened and it was so abrupt, because if it hadn't, where would I be now? Because I didn't have that big 100%. Stop sign kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess like the thing that happened was, and it's the same old like story that everybody has. I was out and I was drinking too much, so much that almost had to get my stomach pumped. And I guess like I was out and I was with my sister as well. We'd gone to a party together, and I thought that I could drink more than I actually could, being underage and everything. And I drank too much, and I was at a party throwing up everywhere. I don't even remember this happening, really.
Yeah, wow.
And I woke up the next day, I guess, and oh no, like I'm at home, I'm in different clothes, and my mum's here. What the heck happened?
No.
Kind of thing. And then so like I literally don't remember anything, but I was in the bushes throwing up. My sister was there, and her friends and her now husband were the ones helping me, and then they try to walk me home, but I'm gone. I'm blacked out. It's like a mess from all ends everywhere. It was like, well, I don't remember it, but you know, they do. And they said it was very messy and dangerous, and I guess scary too, because I wasn't there in my mind.
Like you were unconscious,
what can happen. Yeah, I was just not even like, well, I don't totally blacked out. Anyway, so get home and they're like, we go to the hospital or do we just take it to a friend's house? And it's just like, oh, we got to take it home kind of thing. And then so my parents see me in this state and clean me up and just have to stay at the side of my bed, making sure I don't choke on my own tongue or anything like that. Calling up do we need to bring her in, get her stomach pumped or whatever? But it's just water and time, I guess. Anyway, so we wake up, and that's the journey of losing the trust with my parents. So I was like, I think I was in year 10.
Yeah.
At this stage, or 11, I can't remember. I think I was in year 10. And so that was like, and the town hears about it too, and people talk about it at school.
Because it's very small.
It's small, man.
Yeah. So everyone knows. You can't run away. Everyone's going to know. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So it's I had to mend the relationship with my parents, like the trust. They still love me, but I had to regain the trust, and that was a journey as well. And then kind of just blocked it out from my memory for the next like 10 years and thought it was just, I'm just like, okay, well, if I don't think about it, that never happened. I've learned from it. And one of the things that I remember my sister saying, or my mum saying, I think it was my sister, she's just like, maybe as much as she was there with me, she's like, just take a look around to see the friends who stayed.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there except my sister and her friends and her husband her boyfriend at the time. Anyway, so I reevaluated my friends as well, and I learned my limits on drinking. I still go out for the social drink and whatever else after a long time, kind of slowly ease back in new friend circle and stuff. So, I mean, you still keep in contact with those friends, but it's just there's a bit more of a distance kind of thing,
Yep.
I guess. Anyway, so kind of a shit. Oh, I can't believe that happened. Kind of a shame thing. Oh, I wish that didn't happen. Why did that have to happen? Ugh, like, that's just so embarrassing and like, oh, really? Why'd you do that? Why did that have to happen? But as I said, like, I'm grateful that it did, because it was a hard halt.
Yeah.
And if that didn't happen, who knows, I'd still be at the party, still with the same friends, still making dumb decisions kind of thing. Just changed. It was a rapid change of trajectory, really, in my life.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the growth in the moment. And then the thing that I learned last year, I was sitting down with my sister, and she got married to this boyfriend, right? And I'd had this journey of literally I've just blacked out that time of my life and just forget that it happened and move on with life. It's part of my book. It's part of my story, but I don't have to talk about it and I don't have to tell it, kind of thing. It's just like, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you're never going to know, because I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I'd prefer not to remember it, right? Anyway, so I was hanging out with my sister, and then I asked her, where she lives in Coffs Harbour at the moment, and she's none the wiser. She hasn't heard me say this, but I asked her, "Oh, how did you know that? Like, what made you marry your husband? What, Adam?" And then she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know. Like, you don't know. He's nice and he was a good guy and whatever." There was a point where I was a little bit like, I want to break up with him, but I'm too nice. I don't know how to do it. I'll just put it off a little bit, kind of thing, just because it was just kind of like stagnant.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't, nothing really interesting's happened, or he's just pretty, same. We're just go to the parties, watch a movie, I don't know, hang out, bit same. Anyway, but then she said, but there was that night, if you remember, Kelly, when you were blind and we had to look after you. In that moment, Adam was the one that was helping you, and he wasn't afraid of the mess, and he wasn't turned off, or he was there, and he was acting really mature and helping, and like, she just saw a whole new side of him, kind of thing. And that's the beauty of struggles, is that you get to see a side of people that nobody else gets to see. And if there's no struggles, there's no character
developed.
You don't see the character. You don't get to experience this moment with them, because all you're doing is just being happy all the time. So in struggles, you grow more intimate with one another, whether it be with God or with, like, your boyfriend or your family members or your loved ones and whatever. Anyway, so she'd said in that moment, she's like, I just saw a whole nother side of him, and that was one of the, like, tick, done, like, I can marry this guy, kind of like, this is legit. And then fast forward she's got 2 kids now, and I've got 2 little nephews, and they are the cutest things, and they're a blessing, and they will be a blessing, and I get to have these, like, I get to love these 2 little boys. Who knows if there's more to come, or whatever. My other sister might have kids, but at the moment we've got these 2, and they're miracles and they're blessings, and I wouldn't change it. But then to think a part of my, and that's the thing, that God uses all things for good. And like 10 more than 10 years later, I finally get to see, wow, even in my pit, like, God was able to use my pit for my sister's journey and my sister's relationship with her husband. And fast forward 10 years later, I get, like, he's part of my family, and I get 2 beautiful nephews, Like, what if that trial didn't come and she didn't get to see that side of him, and they never got married and never had kids, and all this kind of chain thing. And it's just like, oh, okay, like that just opened my eyes on a whole new level, that God really uses all things for good. And she doesn't know how I feel about that night or anything.
Wow.
It's like, you don't I just never wanted to talk about it, really.
Yeah.
It's just like, ugh. So just her off the cuff sharing that story transformed my thinking. And and it's like, God uses all things for good. So if it's not good yet, God's not done yet, really. So it was like, okay, well, he has turned that situation for good. So there was just, honestly, I could say there's like this weight lifted, and it's like a release. Oh, okay, finally it's resolved, and it was used for good. And there's like, now the enemy in my heart doesn't have a foothold on that season of my life.
Come on.
Because like God's made something good out of it, and now I'm not afraid, and I'm actually like not excited, but like I'm not afraid to share it, because like God has turned a blessing out of like a pigsty kind of thing. And it's crazy. It's taken 10 years. So it's 10 years of like mental, oh my gosh, like, can't believe I did that. You're like not worthy, or like whatever.
Yeah.
But it turns out for good. So that's an encouragement that I still remember. It's okay. So if it's not good yet, God's not done yet. Yeah. So that's awesome. And that's, I grew from that 100%. I went to, what was the question?
Honestly, the question was, the question was pretty much introduce yourself, like, you know, like just your upbringing. But honestly, I'm just gonna pause it right here, because I need to say this right now before I forget.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you. Like, thank you so much for sharing. Like, it was quite long. But the thing is, right, I'm so blessed. Honestly, I am so blessed that you shared that story, because like I didn't even know that story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, these are the stories, like, this is the reason why I always focus on stories. Like, share your story. Yeah. This is a platform for you to share your story, because I already know right now there is someone listening to this right now, or even like being a part of this podcast, that is heavily being impacted, just saying. So I already know that there's other people out there listening and saying, oh my gosh, like, I did not even know. Like, even like the people that know you, they're like, what the heck? As if Kelly went through that. You know what I mean? And so I want to say thank you for being transparent, like being open to just share your story, because knowing that was a 10-year like fight in terms of a battle that you were facing. Yeah. Like, even though like you've already conquered it, even though you mentioned that, you know, God's taken over it, and the enemy isn't he's been like he's not actually controlling that over you. Like, it is so cool, and it's so refreshing too, even just to share it. Like, I already know right now you're probably like, oh my gosh, I just shared that in front of people. Like, and that's the thing I love about doing podcasting during the season. Because like, if you're listening to this right now, this audio or this video that's being recorded, we're actually doing it through COVID. So there may be people right there like listening to your story, being like, oh, like, this is actually a really good encouragement. Like, you know, I actually feel very empowered by this story. And so I want to say thank you so much for sharing that. Like, thank you so much for actually like even like getting into the finer details, because that was exactly the next scene that we're going to get onto, which is sharing like, you know, the setbacks in life. And funny enough, I'm guessing that was a big setback that you had.
It was a big setback, and I guess like it also it kind of like creeps on your identity and your worthiness kind of thing. And honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted to do like after I finished school. So all that was happening, and still just kind of trying to find who I am. And then like year 12 comes along, and I still didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea. And I wasn't like, God, what am I meant to do with my life? He wasn't even in the picture. he wasn't even like my parents followed God, but he wasn't just like, God, what's your purpose for my life? Like, show me the way kind of thing. It was none of that. It was just like, what am I going to do with my life? I have no idea. And then it was like 6 weeks to the end of like year 12 finishing, and I still hadn't done my art major. And then my mum said, like, well, why don't you just, you used to draw all these cartoons growing up, like you should just maybe turn those into an animation. And I was like, okay. And then so I just like said okay to her suggestion. And talking to my mum after, she's like, I don't know what happened, but when you committed yourself to drawing this animation, this hand traditional kind of like thing, like a switch flicked in you that we'd never seen before. They tried to get me to do my homework. They tried to get me to study. They tried to get me to apply myself to anything, but I just never would. Couldn't be bothered or just wasn't interested. But when I started drawing and when I started to do animation, everything changed, and I was just working through the night and just wanting to draw and wanting to create and wanting to figure out how to like create this thing. And then when that happened, they're like, hey, you do know that there's like an animation degree in Wagga, like maybe you should apply for that. And then I was like, okay. And then so I did. So I handed in my animation and everybody was like blown away by it at the time. Like you watch it back now and you're like, oh my gosh. But then in that moment, you got to remember I knew nothing kind of thing. And nobody ever had attempted that in my sphere before. So I applied for early entry in the animation degree, and I got in, which is then I deferred it and I took the year off to go to New Zealand and, I don't know, grow and expand and be like independent and just, I don't know, experience a bit more life. And then so once I came back, that's when I got into animation, learning everything from scratch, learning the programs. And I still didn't even know what I wanted to do when I was in my third year afterwards. It's just like, you're going to go work here, you're going to move to Sydney, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I'm like, I have no idea what I want to do, but I know that I'm just going to be focused at doing this. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And then I don't know what's next. I've never had a plan. I've just had I'm enjoying and I'm getting really challenged by this. So I'll just keep doing this, and then the next thing kind of just falls into place kind of thing. Yeah. And it was in my last year of university, so 2013, I started going to church as an adult and started that whole journey. I got invited to a small group, and it was just my life totally like flipped around, and my mind was blown when I met young adults that were my age that were a Christian, because my whole upbringing has been nobody except for me with Christian parents kind of thing, or like even people. Thinking of or they're just parents going to church kind of thing. So to have friends that were my age and were like on fire for God was just like, what is this? Like, this is just unreal. Like, I've never experienced this before in my life. Even in New Zealand, I'd never wanted to go to church or anything, and I still never met kind of Christian people. I was still hanging out with just everyday kind of people, still really great people, but just don't have that God factor in their lives. And then so that's when I started to meet like-minded people, or people that were going to challenge me to be good and encourage me to be good, and not encourage me to do bad and mock me when I am trying to be good, which is just still so weird. Which then turned into working for the church, which is Inspire Church now, and I still didn't know. It was just temporary. And they're like, what are you going to do? My mom's like, what are you going to work for? Like, what's this degree going to take you in? And what's your kind of like, where is this going to go now kind of thing? And I still had no idea. But I was still happy just creating and making stuff, and then started serving on the creative team for church. And it's just like, okay, I'm the admin person, but I'm actually studying and I studied this. If you want me to make some stuff, like I'll make some stuff for you, because I'm just sitting here like stapling things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can maybe do something else when I'm not stapling. Yeah. So that's literally, it just kind of like snowballed into just content creating, turning into like what my life is. And I am still like exploring, like, who knows what God's plan is for me, because I still don't know. I always remember people saying, what's your dreams? Like, what's your passion? What's your goal? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Stop asking me what my dreams are, because I don't have any. I don't know. I'm just happy. Like, I think like it's crazy that you kind of like living the dream that I didn't know that I had.
Yeah.
I think just like creating content to inspire people or to make so like, if I didn't have to get paid for anything, that's probably how I'd prefer to live. Like, even if somebody's like, hey, can you just do this job for me? I need some photos of myself for like somebody's gonna go work for Disney in or Universal Studios in Singapore. I need some headshots. Like, I'll pay you. Like, let me. And I'm like, no, please let me take your photo so you can like apply for your dream kind of like this crazy opportunity to work in the studios and stuff. And then when they get the role, they're like, thank you, photos. Like, I think that was the thing that tipped people over the edge, because I got to like, you know, portray myself better than just like an iPhone photo kind of thing. It looked professional, it looked legit, and I came across like mint kind of thing. So it's like, oh, it's my honor to help and use my skills. And please, I mean, if you want to give me some money, that's great, but like I'd prefer to do it like for free, just so I can bless you and like help you live your dream. Or how can I be a help to your dream, or what God's called you to do kind of thing. So that is like my dream, is when I get to help people nail theirs. Yeah.
That is crazy.
And that's, yeah. And I think like I like hanging out with girls, taking them out on a photo shoot, and it's just to fulfill my own desire to go and take some like rad photos. But then at the same time, like, it's so cool to like take photos of girls and then have them feel so like gangster or like beautiful, or like, I've never like, wow, you make me look so good. And I'm like, dude, you just look good anyway kind of thing. Like, this is who, like, I love making people feel good about themselves just because they are beautiful and they are worthy of, you know, to see themselves how they really are, I think. Yeah, so I guess they're my little dreams, or little like what I live for, really.
Yeah. You know what is so cool though? Like, I'm just gonna add on to that, but I'm gonna do like a reverse psychology, and I'm gonna shift it, and I'm gonna point it back to you, because like, I'll never forget this, right? Like, this is something like, I've only known Kelly for a couple of years, right? I didn't even know her story. I didn't even know her story from before, when she was in like, when, like, you know, in her bad days, that people would say, oh, like, you know, like living lavish. But like, for me, like, just knowing her for like, you know, roughly, I think it's only been like 3 odd years, that we're able to kind of establish that relationship. There was a time, I'm going to share to you guys a quick story, and I think like this is going to help Kelly and even people out there to know a bit more, right? So I will never forget this moment. So last year, right, I was given an opportunity. Now, just like Kelly, you know, I had the passion and the, like, let's say, the willingness to learn more in terms of content creating. Right. And it's like, for me, like, you know, long story short, I ended up doing college. I ended up doing Bible college at Inspire College, which is, you know, it's the, like, so you have Inspire Church and then you have Inspire College, and like, they're both combined. And so I was an intern, and I was actually a youth intern. So my role was to focus on like young people. And I was like, in my second year, I was doing diploma, and I was doing new people. So I was focusing on, you know, grabbing in new people, doing the administration stuff, and sort of things like that. And then it came to a point at the end of the year where we had to do this video. And I was given an opportunity to do a project. Yeah, she already knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it was actually so crazy because when I started working on it, I honestly was dropping my nuts. Like I was so scared and I felt like so insecure. I felt like, what the heck? I can't do anything. And like I went into Kelly's office, right? I sat with her and all she was just doing was just like pretty much edifying me, telling me like, you do all right, like that's gangster. I'll give you all this stuff. And like legit, she was just filling me up and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And then I ended up doing this project, right, which I didn't even know was that good until the time that it was launched. So
Yeah.
in terms of this project, it was like a like a graduation video that they wanted to do, but they wanted to make it like cinematic,
Yeah.
or they wanted it to make it like emotional stuff like that. And it was so crazy because I felt so like blessed but like scared at the same time that my principal had given me the honor to carry it. Like he had actually put faith in me to carry that project. And then when I like it came to the night of our graduation, and they ended up watching the video, and then like the whole thing, like they were watching like, because I think it was like 5 snippets, and like I didn't realize how good it was until people were like looking at me saying like, oh my gosh. And I seen people crying, you know, I seen people like getting all emotional and stuff. Like you would know. And like I remember like Kelly just coming to me and being like, that was all you, you know, that was all you. And for me, I'm just like, that wasn't me. Like that was us, like woo helping us out. But I guess the biggest blessing that I had received from Kelly was the fact that like she literally, like she says this, right? She says all these things like she wants to bless people. Like obviously people say, you know, like talk is cheap. You know, you can talk about it. But I'm telling you guys right now, I've been impacted by her. She does this. She actually does it. Like, I'm just putting emphasis on it to people to know that she is that. She will bless you. She will, like, do it for free. And that's what she was doing, right? I know that there are guys out there that'll be like, oh, how about you just, like invest into my course and then, like, you can see it on there. But you're just like, nah, I'll tell you, like, right now. Like, I'll tell you what to do. And funny enough, like the things that you taught me that, like, you know, like during that season is what I still carry to this day. Like even like, you know, even like doing my own projects, like which I'm actually getting into, like building in terms of my personal brand. Like I'm taking all these things that you've taught me, and I'm like implementing it. Even like the little things that you told me about, like the boxes, like having those, like having like your safe margins and all, like certain things like that. Like I'm so grateful, man. You know, I don't know. I'm like so grateful that you shared that, because like I know that there's a lot of people being like looking at you being like, oh my gosh, like I am so grateful to have Kelly, because you know, even like you were sharing the story about, you know, like the girls that you go out with and you start taking like rad photos and or even just videos and making them look good. It's like it takes so much, it takes great humility to get to that point in life where you're like, no, you know what, I want to honor you. And I want to serve you. Like, I want to bless you for the person that you are. And like, my question to you, right? This is the way I'm going to chuck it back at you. My question to you is like, what's the why behind it? Like, I understand that, you know, you want to bless people, but what's the real reason as to why you love to do that?
Why I love to just bless people?
Yeah, like freely, like, you know, like generously. Like, what's the why behind it?
Yeah. I would say it's less stressful. It's just like I'm just doing this out of the love that, like, that's the cost. That's how much it costs, is just the love that I have. Like, there's no pressure, there's no hidden agendas, there's no expectations, and I don't know, it's just nice when people, like, when you come away from somebody who like when I walk away from this podcast, I'm going to feel like, so like, yeah, like, come on. And that's just what you kind of want from conversations with anybody, any kind of person. Like, you just remember and you enjoy those conversations that you do have with people. There's nothing worse than walking away from a conversation when you feel like devalued or they didn't hear what I had to say or anything. It's just like, okay, so I'm just going to put value on people because I know that that's what I know is good, and that's what I know that people actually care. I don't know, like, and just being that piece of the puzzle to continue what God is already trying to teach somebody.
Yep.
It's like, you know, you can hear it heaps of times, but then if I'm just adding to the, oh, and you say that I'm beautiful, and you say that I'm worthy, and you say like that I'm unique in who I am and should be proud of that. Oh, okay, so like, okay, I've got more people saying this thing, and then it kind of just helps that way. So it's like, yeah, I could say that I'm just adding to what God's already working on, and doing my bit to just keep valuing people. Because at the end of the day, I could make all of the pretty videos, or all of the graphics, or all of the nature things, or all of the just textures and just the typography and stuff like that. But they're great too, not devaluing those. But there is so much value when the people that God just created find their value as well. Because like, just for them to feel the love of God, that they have been uniquely and fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
There's so much more value in those. So that's why I'll do portraits. That's why I'll take some girls out. And it's just to hang too. It's just like, hey, I missed you. And I'm also going to bring my camera, and I'm also going to take photos of you, whether you like it or not, because I think that you're amazing. And I just actually just want to hang out with you. It's really just being genuine and not trying to force anything. Because like, yeah, when I take somebody out, it's just, I haven't seen you in ages, and let's go adventure. And I just happen to have my camera along the journey with us to capture whatever. And then usually they'll be like, oh, like, wow, I actually look good. Like, this is crazy. You make me look so good. And I'm like, I haven't done anything, kind of thing. You're just enjoying yourself. We're just having fun. I'm not putting any pressure on you to pose or be somebody who you're not. I'm just capturing you in the life and in the form that God's put. Yeah, it's all just kind of out of genuine heart for people, I guess, in a nutshell. Yeah.
That's so cool, honestly. Like I was real curious about that. I was real curious to know, like, I wonder what is the reason why she does that. Like, what's the purpose? And like, you know, something that I was thinking about, and you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but just while listening to your story, because like I've heard you all, like I was fully attentive into your story. You know, you were like at the age of 16, like being in a place of underage drinking and you know, getting smashed, and you know, coming to a point in your life where you actually wake up and you're conscious, and you end up seeing your mother, and then you end up seeing yourself in different clothes, and you realize that in terms of the trust and the like the trust that you had with your parents, it started to obviously diminish, and you had to, like, over the course of, I don't know, weeks, months, or like let alone years of like rebuilding that. Like, all I fully believe that all those little moments kind of like make you the way that you are today. But I think more importantly, like, I'm just listening, I'm like, you know, I feel like with Kelli that yes, Kelli wouldn't be the person that she is now without those certain circumstances, but it looks to me that she doesn't want people to be like the old Kelli that she was. Like, she doesn't want like, you know, the girls that she's hanging out with taking photos to feel like the old Kelli that she was before. Like, didn't know her identity, you know, was filling herself up with like literal alcohol, like, you know, just filling up, like, and then like just not really knowing her identity. It's like, and the cool thing about you is like you're actually speaking out and also creating things into people, especially like your girls that you're taking out, and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to make you the person that, I'm going to make you the person that that you truly are, like that you truly are, but I'm going to make sure that you don't feel like the old me. Like, it's like, I don't want you to feel like the old Kelli that I once was. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and I'm like, you know, I can sense that being like a subconscious thing, like something that's been on the back of your mind. And it's just like, maybe you just needed like a podcast to share it out. I don't know.
I can completely relate. Now that you say it and I reflect, I'm like, whoa, it really does look like that oh, I didn't even realize I'm doing it. Oh, that's good. That's probably the root of where it kind of comes from. And I do know that, though, because I've spoke it out with when I was serving in youth group and when I was kind of in relationship with like younger girls still in high school, and coming towards the end of it, because and then they're like, okay, why do you want to do youth group? Why are you hanging out with these people? Or like, what are you even doing here? And it's just like, I never had this growing up. I never had somebody to look up to. Like, I never had like a girl that was older than me investing into me or telling me that, just leading me in a right life kind of thing. I mean, my parents do, but it's different when it comes from a different figure, I guess. And then so that was always my drive behind being in youth ministry, was I never had this. So I'm going to be it for somebody else as much as I can. And it's, there's this like, just try to, if somebody had told me kind of thing, if somebody just had told me this, it would have saved me all of this. So I'm telling you now, so you don't have to do the same thing as me. And then if somebody had told me that you didn't have to devalue yourself, then XYZ wouldn't happen. So you just, that is definitely like a thought and a motive that I have. It's just like,
I get you. I honestly get you when you say that. It's like you're wanting to be the person that you are. Like, so the person that you are now is the person that you wanted when you were going through that situation, in life. Nice. And like, like it would have been nice to have like the person that I am now, when I was growing up, like, the old Kelly would be really blessed to have the new Kelly in their life.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
And
I'm like, as I said, I'm still the same person. It's just like being okay with the values that you have and not denying the truth that you already knew. Like, just to have somebody there to back you up, to say what you're thinking isn't like bogus and you're on the right trajectory. Don't compromise yourself in order to try and fit in with people. That's a big thing. Yeah.
No, that's actually a good point, because it like, even just you saying that right now, like, because you mentioned before in like when you're introducing yourself and like explaining a bit about your upbringing, that one of the things that you struggled with was being the only Christian. Like, you were being the only Christian, like you were the only Christian in that school, but then there was like a Jehovah's Witness in the school, and she was getting slammed. And like, you're looking at it being like, I don't want that to happen. But obviously you'd know within the faith that like it's all about standing firm. And it's so cool knowing that like you've actually changed from like that. Like you've changed your mindset in the way that you believe. Like, you're always going to be like, yeah, I'm actually going to stand firm in my faith, but not only my faith, but also in my identity. Because I'm guessing, like, just from what I'm listening, it's like, it sounds to me that old Kelly had a moment where she started to shift because she was fearful. Like, she was actually scared to be like, I don't want to go through what she went through, or he or whoever that was. Like, I didn't want to go through what she went through, so I just kind of conformed. Like, I ended up just being like, you know what, I'm just going to do what the world does. And honestly, like, it is so normal. Like, if you're listening to this, anyone out there is listening to this right now, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is me. I'm telling you guys right now, it is normal, okay? Like, don't feel like, oh no, this doesn't happen. It's like, it happens, right? It happened to me. That's why I'm like listening to you, and I'm like, honestly, this is like the reality of life. Like, you're gonna go through moments where you're gonna get like pushed. You're gonna be forced to change your identity. People are gonna be telling you that you look ugly when really, like, you are, fearfully, wonderfully made. We do know that. And so at the end of the day, like, just me listening to your story and listening to like the little kind of situation that you had in life, it's like, it's so cool knowing that, like, where you are now, like, you're in a place right now of like, I know who I am, like, in terms of my identity. I don't actually have to be conformed by the world or by what other people say. And it's like, I actually know who I am. Like, I actually really know who I am. And it's so cool knowing that you actually learned through the process, like, you actually went through the process. You actually had to not suppress it, but actually bring it up and be like, no, I need to deal with it.
That's the beauty of like living in a small town, is that you can't actually run away from your problems. You actually have to kind of deal with it. And if you had a beef with somebody, it's like that person isn't just going to disappear into the city. They're going to be there for the rest of your schooling life. So you better sort it out. So country towns are good for that. They definitely sort their beef out quicker with people, 100%.
Honestly, if only social media had that mindset of like a small country town, like, yo, all right, sorry, I have beef with you, like, let's sort it out. But obviously that's not the case, because it's like a city, like we're like,
I'm just gonna unfollow.
I was gonna unfollow you, and they're not obviously gonna deal with the problem.
And they're not dealing with the problem, and it's just gonna happen and happen and happen.
Yeah, honestly.
And I think with the whole identity thing, reflecting to creating content and being your own person and being creative, that comes out in what I do and what everybody does. Like, everybody has a unique way of expressing themselves creatively, whether through arts or music or like creative graphic design and stuff like that. And then so it has been you learn, okay, what makes people successful in the industry, or like what makes a good content creator, or like just like, why do I follow these people on the other side of the world? Why am I so invested into what they're doing? And just over learning and hearing, it's like, and what I'm attracted to on social media and in other people's art forms is when that person has found themselves in their creativity. Like, you won't find me following somebody that doesn't know who they are and is posting like it's just like you're drawn to somebody who has kind of figured out who they are, which is really interesting in reflecting. I know that you can explore and have fun with different mediums and stuff like that, but really the essence of your creativity is expressed in those as well. So it's unique. And then I love to see what your brain kind of goes to and how it translates this next kind of expression as well. So I'm going to follow you and be inspired by your exploring kind of thing. And it's usually like the consistency and staying true to the things that they enjoy. And you can really see that in social media. And I think that makes for a really strong presence online, and that's what gets traction and people are drawn, and then all of a sudden you've got thousands of followers, and it's like, I wasn't even trying to. It's not about the followers, but people are interested in what I'm creating. And it's like consistency and being genuine and true to yourself. Really, it comes down, for me, that's what it kind of comes down to. And then so when I'm expressing my art forms, I could think, I'm not like, what am I, who am I in art, and how am I unique? Because God's made me unique, and I have a way of expressing art that nobody else can, because I'm an individual. And so what is my way? And then so in just not overthinking it and in creating what you enjoy and something that kind of brings joy and refreshes me, is like taking photos and then when it kind of like your portfolio builds up, that's when you can see the continuity. And even though I'm kind of like just expressing myself and still learning and still figuring out how to use my cameras and exploring that, there's still the thread of, this is my photography and this is my content creating, and it just kind of flows out of that. And then when you look at the feed, it's just like, oh, this is Kelli, this is Kelli's life. She's been able to capture like these moments, and it's interesting, and I can still express myself in a different way, but it still reads Kelli's creation kind of thing. So that's what I love. And finding your identity within yourself then helps you find that same creativity in content creating, in social media and stuff like that. And then you don't have to try and be somebody that you're not.
I love that.
With your feed and with your stories, and just I like, and sometimes I feel sorry for the influencers kind of thing. They're just having to try and satisfy what they think, or I've got millions of followers. I'm like, I don't want millions of followers because there's that expectation. Like, I don't want millions of followers because of a certain thing. It's just like, if I had millions of followers, it's because and they're not expecting anything from me. It just so happens if I decide to not post anything for 3 months, I don't post anything for 3 months. I'm not trying to meet your demand of, I need content. Feed me with your life so I can just mindlessly watch. It's just like, I want to like just create things as my life goes on, and not like get stuck in having to create things like every 2 days, or new YouTube video like every day. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's a nightmare. Creativity to me is spontaneous and not forced. And that's the best. That's when I like, that's when it refreshes. And that's when there's like the message in there and people get something out of it. Yeah. Nugget.
That is honestly like the one thing I want to add on to that, because like as you were sharing what you just mentioned just then, I was thinking about like, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you when you were sharing about influencers. Like, I do feel like sorry, and I empathize over those influencers out there that have got like 50, 100K followers, and like they're not like they're not genuine followers. Like, it's like you don't even know who they are. Like, you actually don't really know the followers. All they're doing is just like following you for what you put up. It's like no one knows who you are. Like, all they know is like what you put up on social media. And
too much pressure, man.
Legit.
Pressure.
Like, I was going through a season where I was like not gonna lie, I was gonna be like, oh, I want to be an influencer. But then I shifted. I said to myself, I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be like a person that, like, instead of me wanting to have like 50K followers, like, let me allow myself to have 50 like intentional, like really keen followers that actually love you for who you are. They love your identity. They love everything about you. I would rather have 50 odd like really loyal, like guys that are just loyal, keen, and that actually are wanting to know a bit about your life, than to have like 50K random like people. And that's the key, like that's the key as a content creator, is that you want to create content that are specific to the audience that you have. And obviously you're doing that because, like, in terms of your following, like, you're actually having people following you for what you do, and like they like your vibe. And like even when you don't put post up, they'll be like, that's fine. But when you do, they'll be like, oh yeah, she's back, you know, like. And that's what I'm learning, you know, in terms of my journey that I'm on. You know, I'm on a journey to personal branding. So I'm learning now that the key importance, if you're really wanting to build a successful brand, is that you really want to focus on like the audience. Like, you want to focus on what type of audience you have, and like give to them what they want. Like, as in like in terms of like the key, you know, the key loyal followers, like the ones that are following you, they're actually following you for what you put up and who you are. Like, that's when you know for sure those are the key ones. Like, those are the ones that you want to continue to add value. And I'm guessing that's something that you can relate to.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Exactly. I don't want just like people telling me, oh, this is crap, that sucks, or your photos aren't good. It's like, I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that. It's just like, this is my expression. Like, I'm not trying to please you. So that's fine if you're not into it, like whatever. But the people that you do have, they just get drawn to you because they actually are interested and they want to see what you create next, or, you know, if it inspires you or whatever it is. I'd rather have 1,000 loyal, kind of expectant people. Like, nobody's asking anything from me, but if they happen to see it, like, I'm going to be there and I'm going to follow you for when you do post something. But that's the thing, like, not people have done studies, so there is like value in like posting, and like there is a purpose behind it, and you can study it, and like there are algorithms and when to post, when to do this, like there's that whole thing. But just for like just, I guess, like the why behind why you're doing it in the first place. Like, why do people want to follow you anyway? Are they just following you because you're posting kind of promiscuous photos?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really who you want to kind of put yourself out there to be? Is that really what you want your business to be? Or are you getting so many followers because your normal, everyday, genuine life experience that you just happen to have time to kind of post about inspires people? Or like, do you understand the value that, so me, I'm going to use this tool to encourage somebody, or am I going to use this tool to just show off myself kind of thing? Am I going to use this tool to, oh my gosh, there's so many times when you just go through your feed and somebody just shares an encouragement and you're like, that was for me. Like, God can speak to me through bloody stories kind of thing. Like, he's, you can or I just have something and it's just like, I should post that. I should reshare that. That really inspired me and I'm drawn to reshare it. And then you wouldn't believe how many comments, oh my gosh, I needed to hear this today. You have no idea, I needed to hear this. And it's just like, wow, like God can use really anything. And I would hate to clog up the feed with just darkness, because nobody's really, who wants to live in the dark? I'd rather live in the light, you know. Life's more fun and it's less pressure.
It's so good though. Like, I love that you mentioned that, you know, there is less pressure. Like, when you're creating content that you love and you're doing it at the time that you want to, because, you know, that's the choice that you're making. You're like, I'm going to post at this certain time. I can do whatever the heck I want, but people are still going to love me because, number one, they know who you are. And two, they're not focusing on, like, as much as like they're really keen to see more posts, like consistent posting, they're still going to be like, oh, I'm totally fine because, like, I know that, you know, she's busy, or I know that like she's doing stuff, like, you know, like she's a human. Like, we do have a life outside of social media. And I guess that's the cool thing about you, is that, like, you have a platform, especially on your social media, where you're just doing things like in a way of you expressing your art, like you're expressing like your, and it's funny because I've learned too that you can actually express your emotions through you know, you can actually express like your emotion through, like, you know, photography, through videography, like, or even just animation, or even I know that you've been drawing lately, so like, you know, little things like these, like you can actually express your emotions through there. And I'm guessing that's a tool too that you were mentioning that you can utilize to actually impact your people. But also, because you're a content creator, like, that's your specific kind of field where you're like, I can actually encourage people through my work. It may be even just a small, I don't want to say small photo, but it might just be a decent photo, which is decent to you, but people's like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. I like how it's crispy. You know, I like how, like, you know, like, how did you get those effects in? You know what I mean? And like for you, it's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm feeling very valued, but I'm also feeling valued for the person that I took the photo for, or like the video, because it's like, man, they're booming, I'm booming, we all booming, you know? We're all living lavish.
Yeah, that's so true. I do agree with all of that. And I probably don't even have anything else to add to that, because amen. Amen.
Legit. And that's a cool thing, you know, that's a cool thing being a content creator, is that you can actually, like, you can utilize your, like, the tools, the resources that you have, and you can subtly use other people, you know, like, you know, for you were mentioning, like, when you go after girls, you just take them out, have some fun, and then you're just doing like all these like subtle snippets, and then you're like, yo, like, I've actually got a lot of content that I can create. And then, like, once you create it, then you're like thinking, oh my gosh, they actually look very you know, beautiful, like they're looking like they're stunning. And that's what I love, you know, that's what I love, like, being able to utilize the skill set that you have, or what, you know, what we believe in is like the skill set that God's given us, to place it and be generous with other people and allow them to be, like, you know, valued, you know, make them feel valued, because Like that's like our relationship with God. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. Like we're so grateful to have a God, and like a God that is so graceful to us. It's like, oh, why don't we just do that to other people?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I lost my train of thought. Can't remember what I was gonna say.
It's totally.
Sometimes when that happens, I'm just like, oh well, I guess I wasn't meant to say that.
Yeah. Nah, it's all good. Obviously, like if it comes up, then you can just cut me off.
Think of it. Okay, yeah.
You cut me off, and when you're like, oh yeah, it's it, you can share it.
No.
Yeah. But I guess at this point of like the podcast, I guess one thing I do want to get out of you before we even like wrap it up is like knowing that we've done this podcast, right? I'm by the way, I'm getting so much value out of this. I'm like, I've actually got a lot more out of Kelli in this like an hour and 30 minutes podcast.
No.
I'm telling you, sis, it's gone for an hour and 30. This is the reason why I love doing podcasting, is because it doesn't even feel like that long. Like it just feels like we just started. But the one thing I was thinking about during this podcast is that I'm guessing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that like I feel like Kelli is finding a lot more of a purpose or some sort of a dream aspirational goal that she wants to do in the future. So my question to you is, knowing that you shared your story right now, knowing that you're adding immense value to the people that are listening, what would you say is like, I wouldn't say much of a dream, but what's something in your heart that you want to kind of leave a legacy for those out there?
Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm still on that journey, and it was only like last week or the week before I met a girl that I'd never met before, and we got to chatting, and she's just like, oh, like, dude, I have a word for you right now. I just met you, but it's just like, I just am hearing what you're saying, and like, I've only met you this one time, but she's like, there is something really big on your life kind of thing. And this is like the season where you are like, you've just got to seek out God even more and ask the big questions kind of thing, and make big decisions, because like God is calling you out for bigger kind of thing. And then so that has been a really interesting thing that's just been chewing in my mind of like, okay, God, well, what the heck is this gonna look like? Or okay, let's go on this journey of you, whatever crazy thing that you have for me. Because I've learned that my life, when you think of it, elements of it isn't normal, but it's just like in the details, it is not normal. There's nothing that's happened that's been normal. So there's always just been this, like, I didn't realize it, but it's not normal that this kind of happened. And so moving forward, it's like, okay, well, I've taken all these steps before, but it's like God's not finished. He still has more. So it's like, and then I think it's like the more you know, the more you kind of get a bit freaked out. Like the more that you deepen your relationship with God, the more you kind of like, oh, dang, okay, well, it was easy to make these hard choices before because I didn't really know any better. But now I'm growing and I'm learning more. And this decision, or like what could be next, seems pretty daunting kind of thing. But it's like, but like, why am I overthinking what the next step could be, even though I don't know what it might be? Why am I, like, I've just got big expectations of it. So it kind of like freaks me out. I'm like, oh snap, okay, God has some really big things. Freak out now, freak out mode, engaged. But like also excitement, because it's just like, well, this is what you kind of ask for. You want to have a not boring life and be used to the fullest. So what can it be? So that's in terms of what's my dreams and what's my future. It's still like, if I was to say, I haven't really like talked out this kind of specific thing before. It's always just been like a little dream in my mind, whatever that may look like. But at one stage in my life, whatever that could be, you never know. We could just be speaking this out, and this
You never know.
We just don't know. This could be the moment.
Exactly.
This is your podcast, man.
Yes.
Like, I can't shake out of my mind human trafficking.
Oh, come on.
And the ladies on the other side, once they've been like rescued. So you hear the stats. I can't remember what the exact stats are, but it's ridiculous. As in, like, 80% of ladies who get saved end up going back to prostituting or being trafficked, because that's all they know and that's where they get their value from. That's not the exact number, but it was something ridiculous like that. And then, so when I hear that, I'm like, okay, like, that affects me, and that just grinds my gears. So maybe this is a passion, anger that could be brewing inside me, kind of thing.
Yep.
It hasn't been evolved past the thought process of that infuriates me, but that is something that, I don't know, watch this space, or maybe that's just another side hustle of, not side hustle, but, you know, like passion projects kind of thing.
It's just you wanted to invest in.
Yeah, breaking that chain of, what's it called when, you go back into the cycle. So you're brought free from it, but because you're not finding...
Oh, like a relapse?
Yeah, relapse.
Yeah.
But going back into the same environment, it's like, I want to somehow help break that chain of that and put value on people. It's the whole value thing again. It's just like, you're so worthy, more than you know. Like, you don't have to live this way, kind of thing. So that's something that's a sneak peek. I've never shared that out.
That is amazing, like sis.
Like a hunger kind of thing.
Honestly.
But I don't know what that looks like, obviously. So I don't know. But that's in there somewhere. That, for dreams and stuff. Just continue to add value, and then so making people feel worthy and worth it, which they are always. So I guess keep doing that with what I have, and value people's time and relationship more than getting a task done.
Come on.
That's something that I really want to keep working on, and that's it.
Honestly, I don't know if you guys are listening to this, but this may be history in the making. You never know. Honestly, you never know. Honestly, this is where you just got to be very, very self-aware, and you have to be on watch. Because honestly, it's like just a pin. Pin's been it's been stamped. But honestly, I feel like there will be I always believe, if not you, then who, right? Like, if it's not going to be you, who is it going to be? And it's like we all have our own kind of unique kind of feel, unique way of creating, unique way of a unique skill set. Skill set can be the same, but we have our own feel to it because we're all unique, right? And I feel like for you, I feel like you're probably the best person to do that because number one, you're actually really passionate on helping women out there to not go into a place of relapsing, but getting into more of a place of knowing who they are. Because let's be real here, if they knew who they are, if they actually know exactly who they are, they wouldn't be allowing their identity to actually be connected to what they were involved in. But in saying that, people need to realize that this is a traumatic experience that they've gone through, and that is pretty much all they know. They've conditioned in terms of their mindset that's what they live on. And so, it is very hard, but I feel like because your heart's longing for it and you're really wanting to help these women out there, and obviously there is I don't know if there's actually guys, I'm not too sure, but if there is guys that they all children, obviously, we do want to help them, but you specifically, you're wanting to focus on women, and I feel like you're probably the best one at task to do that. I'm believing that Like just
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. All you need is a little seed, right? All you need is a little seed to be planted into the soil and then continue to water it. And I guess that's what we're pretty much doing right now.
Yeah. Oh, come on. It's
history.
scary.
I know. Honestly, I feel you. Like, it is scary. I think even just, you know, at the moment now, I would say I'm in like this entrepreneurship journey. So it is very scary, like building your own brand, because you don't even know whether it's going to work or not. But we know when it comes to God, like, it's all about that faith, like, you know, having that faith, knowing that, it's going to happen. And even if it falls, it's like, no, I'm still going to like lift myself up. So honestly, my encouragement to you, sis, is just like, just do it. Just do it, Nike. And like, obviously, don't just go hard out and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing the whole world, because obviously that's not gonna happen. But I guess my encouragement to you would be like, just think of it like watering a plant. Like, at the end of the day, like, you just put this, like, all you need is a seed to you know, put it in the soil and then just water it and then just let it flourish. Like, obviously continue to tend for it, and obviously the time will come.
Oh, exciting.
I know, it's like exciting, but it's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I guess for everyone that's listening to this right now, we have come, like, we're like, I'm really enjoying this podcast. Like, I just see it as a conversation, but I do need to get back into the structure of things. But yeah, guys, if you guys are listening to this and you're like, what are they talking about? Like, I guess just stay tuned. Like, just stay tuned on what's going to happen, because you don't even know what is going to happen. Like, we have no clue. You know, it might take 10 years, it might take 5 years. We don't know. But the cool thing is, number one, we've got evidence. We got evidence right now. Being spoken into existence. People listening to this right now being like, oh my gosh, like, I'm actually going to keep them accountable. But you know what? It's all good. Like, I feel like there is so much, you know, there's so much of a blessing to have people kind of keep you accountable on it. So yeah, if you're listening to this right now and you're like wanting to jump on board, like, let us know. Like let us know. We'll work around it. We'll do something.
Yeah, maybe somebody's listening right now and they do want to do. So they'll be like, bro, hit me up.
You never know.
Yeah, whether this be in the future or whenever.
Like, you honestly never know. You never know. And so I guess we're going to start wrapping up this podcast. And, you know, I honestly wanted to just take this time to say thank you, sis, for jumping on. Like guys, for those that are listening to this right now, she actually rescheduled. She rescheduled something. Just say, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it was very important for those that are listening. And so she actually rescheduled that to continue to add a lot more immense value to you guys. And so I want to say thank you so much for taking out your time. I know that your time is precious, because I know that you do have a full calendar and you do have a full life out of, like, not just being a content creator, like you do things outside. And so I want to say thank you so much for that. But the last thing I want to do before we wrap this, you know, podcast up is, I love to allow the special guests to share a bit of encouragement to those out there. It may be something that you've been, you know, kind of inspired as you're going through the podcast, or just might be something that you're listening to, or something that really spoke into your heart today or this morning. So I want to give you the opportunity right now, sis, if you are willing, to share a bit of encouragement for those out there.
Yeah, well, I would just say to everybody listening, whenever this may be, that you're in the right spot at the right time, and probably the feelings that you are feeling that are good, act on them and don't try and shy away from it, whether it be to express yourself in this way, or if you're doubting yourself, oh, am I good enough, or am I is this just staying true to who you are, I guess. In essence of it, stay true to who you are, and the integrity to keep being who you are, I guess, because there is nobody else that is the same as you, and there never will be. I think people will be able to do what you do, but nobody can do it in a way that you're meant to do it, in the way that you're meant to inspire people. And for anybody that, you know, may have some regrets, or have done things that they may not be so proud of, or they just don't want to talk about, it's okay. You can share them when you feel ready to share them, but don't be ashamed of it, and know that whether you know it or not, that God actually turns all things for good. And if it's not over yet, then it's not good yet, and God's not done with it yet, which is a really powerful kind of phrase to just meditate on and carry with you throughout the day. If you're needing encouragement, it's like, okay, God is good and he's faithful, and I am unique and I am individual, whether I believe it or not, and I'll be okay. I think this is hilarious. If I've ever made a mistake, or when you get in trouble or you stuff up or something like that, sometimes it's like, in the moment it can suck, but I'm like, this isn't going to matter next week.
Yep.
I'm going to forget about it. If it's just a little petty thing, it'll be okay, kind of thing. Like, it'll work out. It always does. It always has. And I'm going to grow from this. And this little petty thing that I'm getting annoyed over, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let it go. It's not going to matter next week or next year.
Legit. Legit.
Boom.
Did you just drop the mic? Yeah, she dropped the mic, guys. She dropped the mic. Oh, man. But yeah, guys, you heard it here from Kelli. Kelli, she's been adding a lot of value. She even shared a lot of the stories that I'm guessing she wasn't even planning on sharing. Like,
didn't know what was going to happen.
Legit. Like, just come in, free flow, having conversation. But I know for sure that there are people listening to this being like, you know what? I've been impacted by your story. They're being impacted by just even our conversation. And I guess that's the true beauty behind the Impact Podcast Show, is that we are wanting to focus on impacting the one. And that is our mission, right? Our mission is impact the one. And funny enough, sometimes like being impacted by the one may be us, it may be, Kelli being impacted by the conversation and realizing, oh my gosh, like I actually just realized, had these revelations, or for me being impacted by, Kelli's story, like we're all being impacted, but that's the goal. Like that's the mission. We're just wanting to focus on impacting the one. And so guys, that is all that we got for this podcast. Sis, what's the best way that people can connect with you if they're wanting to connect with you? Like what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
Instagram.
Yep.
At Kelli McClintock with an underscore. It's a KELLI _MCCLINTOCK. If you just type Kelli, it probably should come up. I don't know, whatever. And that's Instagram. But I will take the opportunity to say thank you for having me on your podcast, Josh. This was fully sick and super cash, super awesome. You're definitely where you're meant to be and adding value into people's lives, and you will probably never see the harvest this side. You will just never know where it's going to be harvested, but you see your reward later down the track, even on the other side. Who knows? But keep doing it. You literally inspire me to, man, what am I doing with my life? I need to go out and do something. Come on, I need to be dedicated. I need to commit to something. Come on, girl, what are you doing? You just keep turning up, keep on just knowing that that this is gonna, God's using this for good, and I have a platform, so I'm going to use it for good, and I'm not going to use it for the focus on me so much as I'm in it all the time, but I'm going to put it back on other people. And then it just is like this vicious vortex of impact and self-worth and just people winning at life. Yeah, so it's bless you, dude, and keep going. We see it. I see it.
No, honestly, I think, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm so humbled to hear that. I do thank you. I do take it. I take it in wholeheartedly.
Take it.
Yes, I'll take it virtually. Oh, yes. But yeah, honestly, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm so grateful to hear that. This is all part of the mission. I'm wanting to serve and impact the people, and that's pretty much my heart. My heart's wanting to help other people out there. So yeah, thank you so much, sis. Thank you for taking out the time to encourage me. And yeah, guys, yeah. So for those out there that are wanting to connect with Kelli, if you're listening to this through either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please check out our Instagram. Should be under our following list, and yeah, you can find it there. That's probably an easy way. But if you're watching this through YouTube, like our YouTube platform, just check in our links down below, and you'll be able to see her tag. Or if not, you can go back on Instagram too, and that is our main platform. And then you can find Kelli over there, and that will be cool. Guys, that is all that we got. Thank you, Kelli, for jumping on, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. And we'll see you guys in the next one.